On the planet Ilara, the sky was always a pale blue. The two suns shone down on the great city of Miral, where tall white buildings stood in neat lines. The city looked clean and bright, but not everyone there lived a happy life. The alien rulers, tall with silver skin and narrow eyes, treated humans like servants. People called them the Sira. They made rules and gave orders. The humans worked hard every day, wearing simple gray clothes, always afraid of making a mistake. Lyra was one of the Sira. She was younger than most leaders, and her parents were important in the government. She wore long robes and walked with the other noble children through the busy market square. The guards always followed behind, and people stepped out of her way. Sometimes Lyra wondered what the city would be like if she was not part of the noble class. She had questions about the way things were, but she did not say them out loud. That day the market was busy. Sira traders shouted about new fruits and spices. Humans moved quietly, carrying heavy baskets or cleaning the paths. Lyra heard the sound of someone crying. She turned and saw a boy, younger than her, kneeling on the stones. A guard shouted at him, pointing to a broken basket with fruit spilled all over the ground. Ethan was the boy's name. He had brown hair and tired eyes. His hands shook as he picked up the fruit. He whispered, "I'm sorry," but the guard did not listen. The guard raised his stick and brought it down on the boy's back. Ethan cried out, trying to protect his head. People watched, but no one moved to help. Lyra's friends laughed and said the boy deserved it. They said humans were always clumsy. Lyra felt something strange inside. She did not like the way the guard hurt Ethan. She did not think it was right. She looked at the faces around her and saw only fear or coldness. She stepped forward before she could change her mind. "Stop," she said. Her voice was quiet, but the guard turned in surprise. He lowered his stick and bowed a little. Lyra stood tall, even though she felt nervous. She looked at Ethan, who was breathing hard on the ground. "He made a mistake, but he is only a boy," she said. "Let him go this time. I will pay for the fruit." The guard frowned. "He must learn, Lady Lyra. If we are soft, they forget their place." Lyra shook her head. "One warning is enough. Take him to the healers. I will speak to my father if there is a problem." The guard did not want to argue with her family. He nodded and pulled Ethan to his feet. Ethan looked up at Lyra, his eyes wide with surprise and something like hope. He tried to say thank you, but his voice was too soft. Lyra nodded at him and walked away, her heart beating fast. Lyra's friends whispered to each other. One girl asked why Lyra bothered to help. Lyra only shrugged. She did not have a good answer. She thought about her own life, about how easy it was, and about how hard Ethan's must be. She wondered if she would ever see him again. That evening, in her room, Lyra sat by the window and watched the city lights. She remembered the look on Ethan's face. She wondered what happened to him after the healer treated his wounds. She hoped he would be safe. She did not know why she cared, but she did. Ethan was taken to a small room where a kind old woman put cream on his back. She told him to be careful next time. He lay on a simple bed, thinking about the day. He remembered how Lyra spoke for him. He had never seen a Sira show kindness to a human before. He was not sure why she did it, but he knew he would not forget her. Ethan's friends asked him what happened. He told them the truth. They looked at each other in disbelief. Some said Lyra must want something. Others said she would forget about him soon. But Ethan was quiet. He had seen her face. She was afraid, but she helped anyway. That made him think differently about the Sira. Maybe not all of them were the same. The next day, everything was normal again in the city. Lyra walked with her friends, but she did not laugh as much. She noticed the humans working harder than ever, their eyes on the ground. Ethan returned to his duties, moving quickly and trying not to draw attention. He looked for Lyra in the crowd, but never saw her again. Still, he remembered her voice, her quiet order to the guard, and the look in her eyes. Lyra's parents called her to their office that night. Her father was tall and had sharp features. He asked her about the market. Lyra told him about the broken basket. She left out the part about her own feelings. Her father nodded. "You must be careful," he said. We cannot let kindness become weakness. Our people expect strength. If you want to lead one day, you must not let your heart rule your mind. Lyra nodded and said nothing more. She wondered if her father was right. She wondered if kindness was a kind of strength too. She lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what she had done. Time moved on in the city of Miral. The seasons changed, and life continued as it always did. But for Ethan, the memory of that day never faded. He worked harder, watched the guards, and listened to every story about the Sira. He learned how things worked. He dreamed of a day when things might be different, when humans and Sira could live as equals. For Lyra, the world became a little less simple. She began to notice the pain around her. She spoke less and watched more. She tried to help in small ways, careful not to get caught. She grew older and wiser, but she never forgot the day she spared the slave boy in the market. Years would pass before their paths crossed again. But on that day, in the bright light of the city, 2 lives changed. Forever, because of a simple act of mercy. Years passed in the city of Miral. The sun still rose and set over the tall buildings, but many things began to change. The Sira, with their silver skin and careful words, grew more fearful as the humans became restless. More and more humans whispered about freedom when the guards were not listening. Quiet hope began to spread, but so did the rules and punishments from the rulers. The Sira did not want to lose their power, and the humans were tired of living in fear. Ethan grew from a scared boy into a young man. He never forgot the day Lyra spared him in the market. That memory stayed close to his heart, giving him hope that there could be good in the world, even in the hearts of those who ruled over him. He worked hard every day, carrying heavy loads and learning how to fix machines. The guards trusted him a little more as he got older because he listened and followed the rules. But Ethan was always careful not to let them see how much he noticed. Ethan was not alone. He made friends with other humans, some older, some younger. At night, they talked quietly in dark corners, sharing small stories of kindness or cruelty. Some of the younger ones wanted to fight right away, but the older ones warned them to be patient. The guards were everywhere, and even a careless word could lead to trouble. One day, a man named Peter took Ethan aside. Peter had strong hands and kind eyes, and he had seen many things in his life. He told Ethan there was a group of humans meeting in secret, hoping for a day when things could be better. Ethan listened carefully. He did not know if he was brave enough for such things, but the memory of Lara's kindness made him want to try. He joined the group, learning how to pass messages, how to listen without being seen, and how to trust the right people. The resistance was small at first, but it grew slowly. They did not have weapons or much power, but they had hope and determination. They watched the Sira carefully, learning which guards were cruel and which ones only followed orders. They also watched the noble Sira like Lyra and her family. Ethan always listened for news about Lyra, but for many years he heard nothing. Lyra's life was changing too. As she grew older, she saw the pain of the humans more clearly. She spoke out when she could, asking for better food for the workers or lighter punishments. Sometimes her words worked, but many times they did not. The other Sira nobles whispered that Lyra was too soft. Her parents warned her again and again that kindness could be dangerous, but Lyra could not forget Ethan's face in the market, or the feeling she had when she saved him. She knew her family watched her closely and that she had to be careful. Even so, she sometimes left extra food where the workers could find it, or sent messages to the guards to give people more rest. These were small things, but they mattered to those who received them. One year, a sickness swept through the city. Many humans fell ill, and the Sira were afraid it would spread to them. The humans were locked in their homes, given little food or water. Lyra wanted to help, but her parents told her to stay away. Even then, she sneaked out at night, leaving medicine where she could. Ethan's group tried to help too. They shared what little food they had and made sure the weakest were cared for. Many people died, but some were saved by the kindness of others. Ethan heard stories of a Sira noble who brought medicine, and he guessed it was Lyra Dot as the sickness faded. The city changed again. The Sira grew more strict. There were more guards on the streets, more punishments for small mistakes. The humans felt the hope inside them growing stronger, but also the danger. Lyra's family started to lose power. Some of her father's friends turned against them, saying they were not strict enough with the humans. Lyra's father became cold and silent. He spent more time away from home, meeting with the city leaders and trying to keep his place. Lyra was left alone more often. She walked through empty halls and looked out at the city, wondering if things would ever change. She heard stories about humans causing trouble, breaking machines, and shouting for freedom. She knew many Sira were afraid, but she also felt a strange hope. One day, Lyra was called to speak before the city council. She stood before the old Sira leaders, her heart pounding. They asked her questions about the humans, about the sickness, about the way her family treated the workers. Lyra tried to answer honestly, but her words made the council angry. One council member said, "You are too soft. You think humans are our equals. That is dangerous thinking." Lyra did not argue. She bowed her head and left the room. Outside, she met her father. He looked tired and worried. "You must be careful." "Lyra," he said, "things are changing. People are watching you. Even your friends are afraid to be seen with you." Lyra nodded. She felt alone, but she did not want to change who she was. That night, guards came to their home. They searched Lyra's room, looking for proof that she helped humans. They found nothing, but the rumor was enough. Her father was removed from his job. Lyra was sent to live in a smaller house far from the city center. Her friends stopped visiting. Some sent small messages, but most were silent. Ethan heard about Lyra's fall from power. He listened to the stories passed from human to human. Many said she was in trouble because she tried to help them. Ethan felt a mix of worry and hope. He wondered if he would ever see her again. Life became harder for Lyra. She was watched all the time. Guards followed her, making sure she did not speak to any humans. She spent her days reading or walking in the small garden behind her house. She missed the city, the busy markets, and even the sound of her old friends laughing. One evening, Lyra heard shouting in the street outside her window. She saw a group of humans being marched past by the guards. One of the guards shouted at a boy who stumbled and fell. Lyra saw the pain in the boy's eyes and remembered Ethan. All those years ago, Lyra wanted to help, but she knew she would only bring more trouble. She watched the group pass, feeling helpless and sad. The resistance grew stronger in secret. Ethan and his friends learned more about the city, the guards, and even the Sira leaders. They met in dark cellars, planning for the day when they would fight for freedom. Some wanted to attack right away, but Ethan said they must be careful. He remembered what happened to Lyra for being kind. He did not want his people to suffer the same fate. One night, the resistance heard shocking news. Lyra had been arrested by the city guards. The Sira leaders said she was guilty of treason, that she helped humans and planned to overthrow the Sira government. Some humans cheered, thinking she was just another ruler brought down. But Ethan felt cold fear. He knew she was not like the others. He remembered the kindness she showed him and the risk she took. Ethan gathered his closest friends. "We have to help her," he said. Some did not agree. They said she was a Sira and did not deserve their help. But Ethan stood firm. "She once spared me when she did not have to. She is not our enemy. If we let them kill her, we are no better than they are." The group argued long into the night, but in the end, they agreed to listen to Ethan. They began to make a plan. Lyra was being kept in a prison near the center of the city, guarded day and night. The execution would be public, meant to show the Sira's power and control. As the day of the execution drew near, Ethan watched the city with new eyes. He felt the weight of his promise to Lyra, even though she did not know he was near. He knew that everything he did now mattered, not just for her, but for all humans and Sira who hoped for something better. He thought about the scared boy he once was, kneeling in the market, and the noble girl who showed him mercy. He knew he could not let her face her fate alone. The city of Miral changed as the day of Lyra's execution grew closer. The people felt it in the air. The humans worked quickly, eyes down, afraid of what would happen if they showed too much hope or fear. The Sira watched each other, looking For signs of weakness, guards stood on every corner. Everyone whispered about Lyra's arrest and what it meant. Lyra sat in her cold prison cell, far below the streets. The room was small, with only a thin bed and a tiny window high on the wall. She could hear the sounds of the city, but everything felt far away. Sometimes she wondered if this was all a dream, if she would wake up and find herself back in her family's house with nothing to fear. But the heavy chains around her ankles and wrists were real. The guards brought her food once a day, but they never spoke. She watched them with tired eyes. She knew many of them were afraid of her. Some looked at her with anger, others with pity. Lyra tried not to let their coldness change who she was. Each day she thought about her family. She thought about the humans she had tried to help, about the time she had spoken up when no one else did. She wondered if it had all been worth it. Sometimes she felt hope. Sometimes she only felt tired and alone. One morning, the cell door opened. A Sira woman in fine clothes came in, holding a small notebook. She was one of the city judges. "You have been found guilty, Lyra," the judge said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were hard. "The council says you betrayed your people." Lyra sat up straight. "I only tried to help. Humans do not deserve such pain." The judge closed her notebook. "You are brave to say this even now. But the city wants to see justice. You will be brought to the square in 3 days. Do you have anything to say?" Lyra shook her head. She was tired of talking. The judge left without another word. Back in the city, Ethan was moving quickly through the crowded streets. He wore a dirty cloak and kept his head down. He met Peter and 2 other friends in a quiet alley. They spoke in whispers, hidden from the guards. "The day is set," Peter said. "Lyra will be taken to the square at sunrise. There will be too many guards. How can we reach her?" Ethan listened, thinking about the plan they had made. The resistance had found old maps of the city's tunnels, left from a time before the Sira ruled. Some tunnels ran close to the square. If they could use the tunnels, they could get close without being seen. "It is not impossible," Ethan said. "We only need to cause a distraction. Then I can get to Lyra. If we move quickly, we can escape before the guards catch us." Peter frowned. "Why do you risk so much for her?" "She is not one of us." Ethan looked at him. "She once risked everything for me. She showed mercy when no one else would. If we leave her, what does that make us?" The others were quiet. Peter nodded. "We will try." The night before the execution, Ethan could not sleep. He sat with his friends in a small room, checking the plan again and again. The tunnels would be dark and full of dangers. The guards were well trained. The risk was high. But Ethan felt something in his heart that would not let him give up. He remembered the pain in the market, the fear in Lyra's eyes, and the small hope she gave him. He would not let her face this alone. In her cell, Lyra was also awake. She sat on the floor, her back against the wall. She tried to remember happier days, but the memories felt far away. She thought about the humans she had helped and wondered if any of them remembered her. She hoped they were safe. She wondered if they knew she was not their enemy. The next morning, the city was quiet before. The sun rose. The guards woke Lyra and led her through long halls to a waiting room near the square. They put new chains on her and gave her a thin robe. Lyra felt calm. She did not cry. She stood straight, her head high, as the guards opened the doors and led her out. The square was already full. Sira leaders stood on a high platform. Human workers were forced to watch from behind a fence. The air was heavy with silence. Lyra walked slowly, her chains rattling with each step. She looked at the faces around her. Some Sira looked angry, others looked sad. The humans looked tired and afraid. On the other side of the city, Ethan and his friends moved through the tunnels. They carried small tools and lanterns, careful not to make noise. The old map showed a door that would open near the square. Peter and one other friend would cause a distraction. Ethan would go for Lyra. They reached the last tunnel. They stopped and listened. The city above was waking up. The square was full. Ethan took a deep breath. "Are you ready?" Peter asked. Ethan nodded. "Let's begin." Peter climbed up a ladder and found a spot behind the market stalls. He waited until the guards were distracted, then threw a small device that made a loud bang and filled the air with smoke. People shouted and ran. Guards turned away from the platform. Ethan ran up the tunnel, pushing open the old door. He moved fast, dodging behind the platform. The smoke was thick and he could barely see. He heard shouts and screams. Lyra stood on the platform, waiting for the judge to read the sentence. She closed her eyes and whispered a short goodbye to the world. But then, chaos broke out. Smoke filled the air, and people started running. A guard grabbed Lyra's arm, but Ethan leaped onto the platform and knocked the guard away. Lyra opened her eyes, shocked. For a moment, she did not recognize the young man in front of her. "It's me, Ethan," he said, pulling at her chains. Lyra stared at him, hardly able to believe it. "You came for me?" Ethan smiled quickly. "I promised myself I would never forget what you did." He broke the chain around her wrists and pulled her down from the platform. Guards shouted as they ran through the smoke. Ethan led Lyra through the crowd, past shouting Syrah and frightened humans. They reached the tunnel entrance just as more guards came running. Peter and the others fought them off long enough for Ethan and Lyra to get inside. They slammed the door shut and hurried into the dark. They ran through the tunnels, hearts pounding. Lyra's feet ached, but she did not stop. She could not believe Ethan had risked so much to save her. She felt grateful and confused. Finally, they reached the safe room deep underground. The others joined them, out of breath and bruised but alive. For the first time in days, Lyra felt safe. Ethan looked at her and smiled. "You are free now, Lyra," she nodded, tears in her eyes. She sat down, her whole body shaking. For the first time in her life, she felt what it was like to be truly saved. Ethan's friends watched Lyra with unsure faces. Some remembered what she had done for the humans. Others were angry that they risked so much for a Sarah. Peter spoke first. "We will hide here for now. When things are safe, we can plan our next move." Lyra looked at the humans around her. She did not know what her life would be now. She did not know if she would ever go home again. But she knew she was not alone. Ethan sat beside her. "We will help you," he said. "You are one of us now," Lyra nodded. For the first time, she believed it might be true. Far above, the city searched for the missing prisoner. Guards ran through the streets, angry and afraid. The leaders shouted, but the people whispered about the brave humans and the Sarah girl who had helped them. The story of the rescue spread quickly. Some said it was a sign that the world was changing. Deep in the tunnels, Lyra listened to the sounds above and felt a new hope growing inside her. She did not know what would happen next, but she knew she was not afraid anymore. She had friends now, and together they would face whatever came. The city of Miral did not sleep the night after Lyra's escape. Guards marched through every street. Syrah leaders called secret meetings, trying to understand how one of their own had been saved by humans right in front of everyone. The Syrah were angry and frightened, but many humans felt a little hope in their hearts. The story of the rescue spread quickly from one worker to another. Some people even smiled for the first time in years, though only in the dark, away from watching. Eyes down in the tunnels, Lyra sat close to a small lamp, listening as the leaders of the resistance argued quietly. Peter stood with his arms crossed, while Ethan sat beside Lyra. The small room was filled with tired people, all watching her, unsure what to think. "She is one of them," said a woman named Ruth. "If they find her here, we will all be punished." "She risked her life for humans more than once," Ethan said. "She is not like the others." Ruth frowned. "She is still Syrah. The guards will never stop searching for her." Lyra listened to their words without anger. She knew she was not trusted. She knew that some people hated her for what she was, and she could not blame them. But she also knew she had nowhere else to go. She had lost her home, her friends, and her family. She had nothing but her own hope. Peter finally raised his hand. "We cannot leave her. She has seen too much. She has helped us. She deserves to stay, but she must help us in return." Ethan looked at Lyra. "Can you help us? Do you know things that might keep us safe?" Lyra nodded. "I know many things about the Syrah. I can tell you how the guards move. where they keep their records and what the leaders are most afraid of. I know the tunnels under the city and how the council makes their decisions." The group looked at each other. Some faces softened a little, while others stayed cold. Ruth turned away, but Peter nodded slowly. "We will keep her here, but she must work with us. If anyone finds out where she is, we will all pay the price." Ethan promised to watch over Lara. He brought her food and water and made sure she had a place to sleep. Some nights, Lyra and Ethan talked quietly in the corner while the others rested. Lyra asked about the lives of humans in the city. She listened to their pain and their hopes. She shared stories about her own life, though she tried not to speak too much of her old home. Over time, some people began to trust her. She showed them safe ways to move through the city. She drew maps from memory, marking where the guards changed shifts or where secret doors could be found. With her help, the resistance moved more safely and even managed to steal food and supplies from Syrah storerooms. Still, there were many dangers. One evening, a small group did not return from their mission. The next day, news came that the Syrah had captured them and taken them to the prison where Lyra had once been held. The resistance mourned in silence, knowing the risk was now even greater. Lyra felt guilty and afraid. She wondered if the Syrah would ever stop looking for her. She worried about what might happen if they found the tunnels where the resistance hid. One day, Peter called the group together. "We must move again. The guards are searching the old city. It is only a matter of time before they find us," Lyra spoke up. "There is an old passage that leads under the river. The Syrah have not used it in many years. We can hide there." "For a while," Peter agreed. That night, the resistance packed what little they owned and followed Lyra through the tunnels. The way was long and dark. Sometimes they had to crawl on their hands and knees. The tunnel was filled with dust and old stones, but Lyra led them without fear. After many hours, they came out in a large empty room under the river. The air was cool and damp, but it was safe. The group settled down to rest, grateful for the new hiding place. Life in the tunnels was hard. Food was short, and the cold made people sick. But Lyra and Ethan did everything they could to help. Lyra taught the children simple lessons to pass the time, telling stories about stars and other worlds. Ethan fixed broken pipes and found ways to bring in clean water. Sometimes, Ethan and Lyra would sit together and talk about the future. Ethan dreamed of a day when humans and Syrah could live as equals. Lyra dreamed of a world where no one was. Judged by their birth, they became friends, sharing their worries and hopes. Ethan told Lyra about his family, how his mother had worked in the city kitchens, and how his father had been taken away by guards many years ago. Lyra listened with care, wishing she could change the past. One day, a group of resistance scouts returned with news. "The Syrah are planning something big," they said. "They are calling for all humans to come to the city square in 3 days. They say anyone who does not come will be punished." Peter frowned. "It is a trap. They want to find us. Maybe they think Lyra will show herself if they threaten the people." Ethan looked at Lyra. "What should we do?" Lyra thought carefully. "We cannot let them hurt innocent people. If we do nothing, they will punish everyone. If I show myself, maybe they will let the others go." Ethan shook his head. "It is too dangerous," Peter agreed. "We cannot give up our only hope," but Lyra was silent. That night she could not sleep. She listened to the sound of water dripping in the tunnel and thought about all the humans who would suffer because of her. She knew she could not let it happen. In the early morning, Lyra wrote a note and left it for Ethan. She put on her old robe and slipped out of the tunnel, moving quietly through the dark streets. She avoided the guards, but she walked with purpose. She reached the city square before sunrise and waited for the Syrah leaders to arrive. When the council saw her, they were shocked. The guards rushed forward and took her away. The news spread quickly. The Syrah girl who had betrayed her own people had given herself up. Back in the tunnels, Ethan found Lyra's note. His hands shook as he read her words. "I cannot let others be punished for what I have done. I hope you will forgive me. You showed me what real courage is. Thank you for being my friend." Ethan ran to tell Peter and the others. Some were angry that Lyra had left. Others were sad and worried. Ethan knew he could not let her face the Sierra alone. He gathered a small group and told them his plan. We must help her. She saved me once, and I must do the same for her. Peter looked at him with pride. Then we will all stand together. As the sun rose over Miral, Ethan and his friends moved quickly through the secret tunnels, getting ready for the most dangerous mission of their lives. They knew the city was full of guards, and the Sierra would do anything to keep their power. But they would not let fear stop them. Ethan thought about Lyra waiting in the cold prison cell. He remembered the day she saved him, her voice calm but brave. He knew she had changed his life forever, and now it was his turn to change hers. The city of Miral was quiet as the group moved closer to the center. The people watched from their windows, afraid to hope. But Ethan's heart was strong, filled with the memory of kindness and the promise of freedom. He would not let Lyra face her fate alone. The city of Miral waited as the sun rose above the white buildings. The people felt that something important was about to happen, but nobody knew how the day would end. Sierra guards stood in every street, watching for trouble. The city leaders believed they were strong, but inside, many were worried. The humans were silent, but their eyes showed hope mixed with fear. Lyra sat in a small prison cell, her back against the cold stone wall. She felt tired and hungry, but her mind was clear. She remembered every step she had taken to get here. Every choice she had made since the day she spared Ethan. She did not regret any of it, even though it led her to this dark place. Lyra hoped her actions would protect the humans who would be forced to gather in the city square. She wished she could see Ethan one last time, but she told herself she would be strong. The guards came for her just before noon. They chained her hands and walked her through empty hallways. Outside, the city was quiet. People waited in the square, Sierra and humans separated by a thick line of guards. The Sierra Council stood on a tall platform, their faces proud and angry. When Lyra was brought out, a cold wind moved across the crowd. She walked with her head high, trying not to show fear. She remembered Ethan's words about courage. The council leader began to speak, his voice loud and harsh. "Today we punish a traitor who turned against her own people," he said. "Let all who watch remember that no one is above the law." The crowd was silent. Some Sierra looked at Lyra with hatred, but others looked away. The humans watched her carefully, some with hope, some with tears in their eyes. The guards prepared the platform for Lyra's execution. She stood very still, her heart beating fast. She knew she might die, but she was not alone in her heart. She thought about all the small acts of kindness she had given and received. She remembered Ethan's face as a boy, scared but hopeful. Suddenly, a loud sound broke the silence. Smoke filled one side of the square. People shouted and pushed, trying to see what was happening. Guards ran toward the smoke, leaving their posts. Ethan and his group had come. They moved quickly, using the confusion to reach the platform. Ethan saw Lyra standing there, her hands chained, but her eyes full of courage. He remembered the promise he made to himself. He would save her, no matter what. He ran up the steps with two friends at his side. The guards saw him and tried to stop him, but Ethan was fast and determined. He reached Lyra and broke the chain from her hands. For a second she looked at him, surprised but glad. "You came," she whispered. Ethan nodded. "You saved me once. I could never forget." The Sierra leaders shouted for the guards to catch them, but Ethan and Lyra moved quickly. The resistance group had planned every step. They led Lyra down the platform and into the crowd. Other members threw more smoke bombs, making it hard for the guards to see. People started running in every direction. The humans in the crowd saw what was happening. Some of them shouted and pushed back against the guards. For the first time, many of them felt brave. They wanted to help Lyra escape. Some formed a wall around Ethan and Lyra, letting them slip away through a small alley behind the square. Ethan led Lyra through narrow streets, following the secret path she had taught him. Guards chased after them, but the people blocked the way. For a few moments, the whole city was full of noise and movement, Sierra shouting orders and humans refusing to move aside. Finally, Ethan and Lyra reached an old door in the wall of the city. Peter and Ruth were waiting there. They helped Lyra climb through, then closed the door behind them. They ran for a long time, making sure no one followed. When they were safe, they stopped to catch their breath. Lyra leaned against the wall, her face pale but her eyes shining. "You risked everything for me," she said softly. Ethan smiled. "You showed me once that even the powerful can be kind. You gave me hope. Now it is your turn." Lyra looked at the small group of humans and felt something new in her heart. She felt that she truly belonged. She was not a noble Sira anymore. She was a friend and a helper, part of something bigger than herself. The resistance hid in the tunnels for many days. The Sira searched the city, but they could not find Lyra or her friends. During this time, Lyra taught the group everything. She knew about the Sira Council and the city's secrets. She helped them make new plans and find safe places to hide. Slowly, the humans began to trust her more. Even Ruth, who once doubted Lyra, saw how hard she worked and how much she cared. Some of the resistance members were still unsure, but most welcomed her as one of their own. Ethan and Lyra spent many hours talking. They remembered the day in the market when she spared him. They talked about the lives they wanted for their people. Lyra promised she would never stop fighting for a better world. No matter what. As time passed, the city changed. More humans joined the resistance. Some Sira began to question the council's power. The story of Lyra and Ethan spread through. The city of a Sira noble who risked everything for a human, and of a human who risked everything to save her. One evening, Peter gathered everyone together. He looked at Lyra and Ethan with pride. "You both showed us what is possible. We have hope now because of you." Lyra smiled, her eyes bright. "We did it together. We are all the same, no matter where we were born." Ethan nodded. "We are not slaves. We are not rulers. We are people, and we belong to each other." The resistance made a new promise that night. They would fight for freedom, but they would also fight for kindness and understanding. They would help each other, Sira and human, side by side. Lyra stood with Ethan, looking out at the city lights. She knew the fight was not over, but she was no longer afraid. She had friends now, people who cared for her and believed in her. Together, they would change the world. In the end, it was not the power of the Sira or the fear of the guards that changed the city. It was a simple act of kindness, given in a moment of need, that began a chain of hope. Lyra and Ethan proved that mercy could be stronger than hate, and that even in the darkest times, there was always a reason to hope. And as the stars shone over Miral, the city was no longer divided by fear. A new day was coming, one where everyone, Sira and human, could stand together as friends.